Let's riff another Tojo movie! Atragon is a 1963 movie that checks every single box a Tojo movie can have. It has Earth being invaded by a technologically superior civilization, a weapon built for morally dubious reasons that turns out to be humanity's last hope, war trauma, giant monsters. Yep, that's a Tojo tokusatsu film if I've ever seen one. The plot is loosely based on the 1900 novel The Undersea Warship, that depicted a group of Japanese naval officers building a super submarine in order to help their country liberate Asia from the European imperialists. Producer Tomoyuki Tanaka then suggested writer Shinichi Sekizawa to update the setting into the modern day while maintaining the characters' motivations, capitalizing on the anachronism in the process. The result is a rare post-war movie that questions Japan's participation in the conflict, while also being completely oblivious to the fact it reiterates the exact same rhetoric disposed by the Japanese during the conflict. But let's start from the beginning. People are being abducted. Steaming hot men are seen coming out of the ocean to capture engineers from the surface. They would have done the same to poor Makoto Jinguchi if not for the intervention of the photographer stealing her? That's not shady at all. These mysterious men from the depths are agents of the lost empire of Mu, an ancient civilization from a continent long sunk into the ocean. Instead of drowning like virgins, they started to live underground, channeling Earth's inner energy for their technology and also their bodies like the absolute chads they are. The Mu people want to rebuild their own glorious empire on land. The only thing standing between them and global domination is the experimental submarine Gotengo, or Atragon, depending on which version of the film you're watching. This technological marvel has been secretly built by the crew of a submarine who disappeared in the last days of World War II, the captain of which is the father of young Makoto. If the land people don't fight the Gotengo and deliver it to the Mu Empire, they shall raise hell on the surface world, which they were going to do anyway, I guess, except now it's going to be worse. Anyway, if this submarine is the only thing between the underground empire and world domination, the surface links might as well go after it for their own good. Following the lead of a man who claims to be a sailor sent by Captain Jinguji himself to keep an eye on Makoto, the heroes find the woman's father along the rest of his crew, hidden away in a distant island. The fact is that Jinguji deserted at the end of the war. Not wanting to surrender, he and his crew hid away, spending over a decade finishing the construction of the Gotengo, waiting for the day to use it as a means to restore the glory of the Japanese Empire. The revelation that he deliberately turned his back on his family to build a flying submarine flies as well with his daughter as you would expect.
Makoto, 何を泣いてるんだ? お前は父を恨んでいるのか?
Guy can't get a clue, can he? Not only Makoto, but everybody else is very frustrated with Jinguji, who doesn't give a shit about saving the world.
では海底軍艦は無用の長物だと言われるんですか?
海底軍艦は決して無駄ではない。世界がそれを要求しとるんだ。
お断りします。
Sucks for him, fighting the Mu Empire is not a choice, as the Mu agents find the location of the super submarine and destroy the base where it was being hidden, while also taking a handful of hostages with them, including Makoto. The prisoners are taken to— damn! Look at the size of this set! Where did they find the money to build this place? Anyway, with the Gotengo apparently out of the way, the Mu Empire starts its campaign against the surface dwellers, mauling their way through their pitiful forces. Finally convinced the situation has indeed changed, Jinguji decides to take his war to this new threat. The Gotengo then emerges from the debris of its former home, flying towards the enemy fleet that threatens the world. Despite their immense firepower, the Mu ships are scared shitless of the Japanese wonder, soon retreating into the depths of the ocean. The Gotengo follows its enemies to the doorstep of their homeland. Inside, Makoto and the other prisoners manage to take the Mu Queen hostage. Using her as leverage, they get to an underground hatch, getting ready to swim away from that hellish place.
あとです。
何？いかに？待って。
You don't fuck around with this dude. They exit the Mu base just as the Gotengo arrives in the scene to raise hell in the place. Once the fugitives and their hostage are on board, the ship decides to return the favor the Mu people did them earlier and blow their own base to pieces. And so the Mu Empire, including men, women and children, goes up in flames, turning the Pacific Ocean into a hellscape that affirms the superiority of surface dwellers over the pathetic invaders. Understandably, the Mu Queen goes nuts from seeing her whole people being obliterated from the face of the earth and decides to go out with them, disappearing into the fire. Oh, also the Mu have this monster pet called Manda. It appears for less than 2 minutes and goes down when Gotengo uses a freeze ray against it. Tomiyuki Tanaka just told them to throw a giant monster in it. You should know the drill by now. I don't know about you, but this film sent me some intensely mixed messages. While Atragon does condemn the blatant jingoism of Imperial Japan that put their expansionist project before the well-being of its own citizens, we can't deny that it was exactly this warmongering mindset perpetuated by Captain Jinguchi that eventually saved the day, as the Gotengo was the only thing between the Mu Empire and complete victory. On top of that, it's good to remember the narrative perpetuated by Japan during the Pacific Campaign was that of a war of liberation, not conquest. That they were not going their way expanding their own empire, but rather freeing Asia from European subjugation, just like in this movie they freed the earth from the claws of the Mu Empire. So yeah, this film has a weird execution of its own story. Now, does any of that bother me at all? No, of course it doesn't. Atragon takes a while to get going, but when it does, it is pretty neat. Besides the action, the film has a very solid drama going on, which is rare for a flick penned by Shinichi Sekizawa. I would expect to see this kind of stuff coming from Takeshi Kimura. And that's not even going to the war films, which, despite the already mentioned flaws, get props for touching on a scar that even to this day is rarely addressed in Japanese media. As a result, Atragon remains fondly remembered by fans of the genre. The Mu Empire would return as antagonists of Godzilla vs. Megalon, while Manda composed the ensemble cast of both Destroy All Monsters and Godzilla Final Wars, the latter of which recreates its battle against the Gotengo. And I say battle in the loosest possible way, of course. Joking aside, I know my release schedule hasn't been the best this year, but I will try to be more consistent from now on. Until next time, and stay safe.